Tiger Woods used to be an alien on the golf course, and unless we are all in for a major surprise, golf will never get another Tiger. For about the first 16 years of Tiger's professional career, no other player could command the golf ball as he did. Tiger's prime was a landmark in human history, so it's only right we remind the world about it. You didn't need a crystal ball to know Tiger was going to be a beast when he turned pro in 1996. His greatness wasn't just written in the stars, it was all over the place. He was already the best modern amateur the world had ever seen. Most schools would have done anything to entice Tiger to play for them, but Stanford University got the privilege. Instead of striking gold, they had found the rarest gem. They had landed the first and only winner of 3 consecutive U.S. junior amateurs. And that was the kind of muscle any college would pay a fortune for. Tiger was peerless, and he let the other college boys know at every chance he got. For the first 2 years he spent at Stanford, for example, nobody else won the U.S. Amateur except Tiger. And before he left college golf, he added an NCAA individual championship to his haul to cement his place at the top of that world. Did you think anyone else would ever dominate amateur golf as Tiger did? That kind of domination takes unreal consistency, but it was easy for Tiger. Thanks to Earl Woods and the superhuman discipline he instilled in his son, the machine was unstoppable. All Tiger had to do was stick to a rigorous routine. This got even more intense after Tiger sacrificed his last 2 years of college to start terrorizing the big boys. He once told Justin Thomas on a flight that, in his prime, he would wake up in the morning, typically around 6 a.m., to run 4 miles. From the tracks, he would head straight to the gym to lift weights. After working on his muscles, he would start his golf-focused exercises by hitting golf balls for 2 to 3 hours. Then he would drop the club and go off to play for a while before returning to the greens to practice his short game. At the end of his busy day, he capped his drills with another 4-mile run. And if he found anyone interested in a game of basketball or tennis, he would play with them. A glance at this lifestyle, later confirmed by Tiger's former swing coach Hank Haney, suggests something ungolf-like. You wouldn't be too surprised if a boxer organized their day like this, but a golfer? It was unheard of. Tiger certainly took his relationship with the dimpled ball very seriously, and that explains why he reigned supreme through his rise and stay at the top of golf. The official World Golf Ranking was introduced in 1986, just in time for Tiger's coronation. Before Tiger, golfers fell off and climbed up the ranking irregularly. But Tiger's superiority planted him firmly at the top. And for the better part of a decade and a half, he called the #1 spot home. From 1998 to 2010, he won 13 straight Mark H. McCormick Awards. This means no other golfer spent more weeks at #1 in any of those years than Tiger Woods. Actually, from 1999, he was largely unchallenged for the position. Only Vijay Singh briefly threw him off the podium in Singh's marvelous 2004, in which he won 9 tournaments. But by 2005, Tiger was back on his throne, and the golf world would call him king for another 5 years. His first run of 264 consecutive weeks at #1 from 1999 to 2004 was only bettered by his second run of 281 weeks from 2005 to 2010. He would reclaim the top spot in 2013 to extend his total time as the world's #1 golfer to 683 weeks. To tell you how crazy these numbers are, the third longest reign at #1 was only 97 weeks long. Greg Norman achieved the feat after sitting on the summit from June 1995 through April 1997. Besides the ranking, Tiger shattered so many records in his prime that many of his records now seem set in stone. For instance, between 1998 and 2005, Tiger made the cut in 142 consecutive events. Of course, it makes no sense that any ordinary man should be capable of doing this. You have to be a demigod to even come close. Byron Nelson, the former record holder, won 18 events in 1945 alone, but he could only make 113 consecutive cuts. Nelson probably would have stretched it longer if not for World War II and his retirement in 1946 to become a rancher. He was another example of a golfer who got too good for his peers. And that's the class Tiger's prime put him in, the class of golf gods. Just as Nelson's 1945 form is important to his legend, no video about Tiger's prime is complete without mentioning his 2000 form. Tiger ushered humanity into the 21st century with supernatural control of his game. He had gained popularity for being hard to beat, but in 2000, he was nearly unbeatable. Kids in the future will look at his numbers from this year like dinosaur bones. They are that unbelievable. That year, in 20 starts, Tiger earned 17 top 5 finishes and won 9 times, including a string of 3 consecutive major victories. He would later win the first major of the following year to complete the phenomenon we call the Tiger Slam. This was the peak of the Tiger Show. Every week, golf fans expected him to add another title to his collection. As for his colleagues, they had no choice but to take the crumbs he left them and join his gallery of spectators. Tiger was a prophecy in motion, and by the end of 2000, his scoring average of 68.17 had broken Byron Nelson's record of 68.33 set in 1945. In a year, Tiger won 6 consecutive events, the first person to do so since Ben Hogan did it in 1948. Only John Daly drove the ball longer than him. Long John's driving average of 301.4 yards off the tee kept Tiger in second place with 298 yards. However, Tiger's brute power also came with a high accuracy that allowed him to hit 71.2% of his fairways and 75% of his greens in regulation. But as incredible as Tiger's 2000 was, one victory stood out for what it represents in golf history. In Phil Mickelson's words, what he did at Pebble Beach is still the greatest performance in golf of all time. Mickelson is an all-time great himself, but no one would deny the miracle they watched at the US Open at Pebble Beach in 2000. The last thing you wanted to give Tiger that year was any kind of advantage, but he had it at Pebble Beach. He had gotten a feel of the course when he won the AT&T Pebble Beach National Pro-Am earlier in February. Then he had to rebound from a 7-stroke deficit to steal the title with 7 holes remaining. But in June, when he returned to Pebble Beach for the US Open, nobody could have predicted what Tiger did. He was already a favorite to win any tournament he entered, but nobody could have bet their money on him winning the US Open by 15 strokes. And this didn't happen because the field made it easy for him. He simply excelled where others faltered. While Ernie Els and Miguel Angel Jimenez succumbed to Pebble Beach and finished tied for second at 3 over par, Tiger golfed from a different realm. He left his colleagues to compete against the ghosts of golf's past. To find another golfer who almost did what Tiger did, you have to go back to the time of the American Civil War. Tom Morris had set the record for the largest margin of victory at a major tournament with 13 strokes against 7 golfers at the 1962 British Open. But close to a century and a half later, Tiger went 2 better with 15 strokes against a field of 156 professional golfers. Tiger followed his first round 65 with a 69 in the second, a 71 in the third, and a 67 in the fourth round. He opened with a bogey-free 22 holes and closed with a bogey-free 26 holes. And while he coasted to 3 subpar rounds, the rest of the field could only muster 32. It was golf's magnum opus. Although that tournament changed everyone's perspective on what was possible in golf, Tiger's prime changed the game of golf forever. Tiger combined powerful driving with uncanny accuracy and a flawless short game to create a lethal technique that won consistently. At his best, Tiger won 79 times on the PGA Tour, including 14 of his 15 major titles. The 90s was the first time modern golf had witnessed anything like Tiger, and tournament organizers panicked. They could see Tiger was creating a new standard for playing golf, so changes to the game became inevitable. This caused a wave of what was called Tiger-proofing. Essentially, the lengthening of holes, repositioning of bunkers, and introduction of trees and other hazards to stop Tiger. Even Old St. Andrews and Augusta National got in on the movement. They all tried, but ultimately injuries and other personal struggles, not golf course architects, would engineer Tiger's downfall. Fortunately for golf, its finest artist got more media attention than the sport had ever seen. and the craze around Tiger's genius would birth a new generation of superstars. There's been a question of whether Tiger could do what he did in his prime at the present age, but that question itself is a product of a strong recency bias. As human beings, we tend to enjoy spectacles momentarily and immediately forget them as soon as the events end. But we can't do the same with those magical years of Eldrick Taunt Tiger Woods. He pioneered the modern game, so in the first place, his competition would remain fairly similar to the folks he faced at the height of his powers. This new crop of players would have been like the Elses, Mickelsons, and Sings with their individual styles, and their brilliance still would have fallen short of stopping Tiger's dominance. The fact that a beat-up Tiger won the 2019 Masters and Zozo Championship against the new boys at their best shows that at his best, they would have been no match for him. Even with the advancements in golf technology, most of his records remain untouched. So it's blasphemous to say Tiger's prime would be impossible in the present day. If you enjoyed this video about Tiger's prime, check out the video on the screen now, or the one we posted below. We're sure you'll like that one too. Let us know in the comments if there's another golfer whose journey you'd like us to cover. See you there!